Wanted to give a little more description on impact training because I've noticed there's a lot of kind of conflicting descriptions or just some questions about what really is impact training and what's the best way to apply it to your movement and your training. So when you think about impact, most people kind of think of that as jumping. And when you think of jumping, there are multiple phases of jumping, right? And the easiest way is just to break it into two, where there's the actual jump phase and then there's the landing phase. Now, I've seen many people chat about impact training, and they're only talking about the jumping, where they're showing examples of jumping up onto a box or a platform. That isn't impact, right? It's great neuromuscular training. It's a great way to engage the most amount of your muscle mass quickly, especially those fast twitch muscle fibers we're trying to maintain and improve. It's a great way to engage those. It's a very valuable, very metabolic activity that I think we should always strive to be able to do. It's important for our fitness and just our capacity. However, we're not getting any impact from that. The actual impact component is that landing phase. And there's different ways in which you can land, right? So for example, if I were to jump onto a box, right? It doesn't really matter how high it is, but jumping onto a box, that movement right there, really no impact, right? I jumped from the ground, I landed nice and soft on the top of that box, no impact, right? Great in terms of power and using strength to get there, fantastic. The impact phase is if you're using that for impact, making sure that we're not just stepping off gingerly for our next repetition. It would be more so we would come up to the top, we'd turn, and we'd go, and we'd stick that landing, right? That part, the landing component of jumping or stepping off of a platform, that is the impact, right? And the easiest way to understand how much impact we're receiving is the calculation really just goes off of time of stopping, right? So if it takes longer to stop your body from a fall, right? You land, you really cushion, you gingerly land, right? Impact is decreased because we've increased our landing time. If we really land, and I kind of envision the description I always go back to is when you see that gymnast coming off of a vault or a high bar, and they come down and they stick that landing, right? They kind of have just a really athletic position where a slight knee bend, slight hip bend, but really just kind of, I call it sticking the landing. Our body, the amount of time it takes from moving to stopping is decreased, so therefore impact is greater. So it's a kind of a play between how much impact we're willing to suscept our bodies to, because we're still considering, hey, we have to protect our joints and all, our soft tissue and all the stuff, articulation of our feet and those kind of things are important, but you're still trying to stick the landing, whether it's stepping off of a box, jumping off of a box, or an exercise I've been experimenting with recently is that just pogo jump and stick, or just a jump and stick in general, right? So if I'm jumping up, but then I'm really sticking that landing where you can really hear it, hopefully my microphone is making that noise visible, but you want to jump to where you can really hear the impact occurring, where your entire foot is really landing on the ground. Maybe more so mid-foot to heel is where you're trying to distribute the landing force. But that sticking is what we're attempting to do, which is a slight knee bend, slight hip bend to protect those joints. I think that's very valuable. So if you're trying to incorporate your pogo stick, right, that last sticking the landing, super important. Or if you're just doing a jump in stick, or if you're doing your freeze drops in stick, really work on that bottom position where we're aiming for that full foot landing, body weight shifted midfoot to heel, that thud that we're shooting for. So that is the vision that you should have in your mind as you're doing it. How much should you be doing it? I think the frequency is the next question. I just finished reading some research that came out in 2023. It was a meta-analysis of resistance training and impact training and some other balance training for osteoporosis. And the conclusion from I think around 50 papers that met the description for their study that they were aiming to review. Was ideally aiming for 2 to maybe 3 impact training sessions per week is a good number to aim for as far as average. And this is the more high intense impact, right? Where it's the stepping off the freeze drops, or maybe it's the exercise like the lift more, where it's a pull up and land exercise, where you're getting that much greater amount of force, usually somewhere between 10 to 50 repetitions, okay? So if it's that really high pull up and jump where you're really getting a hard impact, maybe aim more for that, maybe 10 to 20 total for a session. If it's more of the jump and stick landings, maybe it's somewhere between 40 and 50, right? So aiming somewhere, and it's all going to be variable depending on how your body responds to it, what your abilities and capabilities are, as far as how much impact your body can withstand but still be able to progress. But that's a great number to build up to, is 2 to maybe 3 sessions per week of a moderate to higher level of intensity impact, somewhere between those 10 and 50 reps. If it's kind of moderate, aim more to 30 to 50 range. If it's really high impact or you really feel it, aim closer to those 10, okay? It's a great starting point. There's a lot of wiggle room and play room there. A lot of different movements you can do. Everybody's going to kind of find what works best for them and the impact that they really feel the impact of, but also not affecting them as far as the recovery and capacity goes. So hopefully those examples were helpful. Happy to show more. But as far as really understanding and envisioning that landing position, right? You're just sticking that landing, just like that gymnast coming off the vault or the high bar type exercise. That's kind of the position that I want you to feel and envision and put yourself, your body into coming down in that landing position. Again, jumping is fantastic. I think we should be jumping. I promote jumping a lot. I think it's very valuable. However, that is not the impact. The impact is, again, coming off that box or the step or the platform, or jumping and landing that position. That's the impact we're looking to achieve. Any comments or questions? I'd love to hear them, and we'll go from there. So let's have a great week, guys. Thank you.